There is a version of you that everyone loves. They call you dependable. They call you a good friend. They say things like, "I don't know what I'd do without you." And you feel that. You carry that. You let it become part of your identity. The person who shows up, the person who never makes things difficult, the person who somehow always finds a way to say yes. And for a while, it feels like love. But here's the thing nobody tells you about being that person. The warmth you feel from the people around you, the appreciation, the closeness, that feeling that you matter to someone, it has a very specific source. And it isn't you. It isn't who you are. It's what you do. More precisely, it's how little friction you create in someone else's life. You have confused being easy to be around with being loved. Those are not the same thing. They are not even close to the same thing. And the difference between those two things will quietly destroy you if you don't learn to see it. Think about the last time you said yes to something you desperately wanted to say no to. A favor you couldn't afford. A commitment you didn't have the energy for. A conversation where someone vented at you for an hour and you sat there absorbing it like a sponge, nodding, validating, emptying yourself out so they could feel full. What did you feel after? Probably not love. Probably something quieter and darker. Something that felt a little like resentment, mixed with the specific exhaustion of someone who has been performing all day. You did it anyway, though, because somewhere inside you, you have learned a rule. A rule that was never spoken out loud, but that runs your life completely. The rule is this: if you stop being easy, people will leave. And the terrifying part is, you're not wrong. Psychology has a name for the mechanism underneath all of this. It's called the social exchange theory. At its most stripped down, it says that human relationships are fundamentally transactional, not in a cold, cynical way. Not because people are evil, but because the brain is an efficiency machine. It is always, on some subconscious level, calculating. What does this relationship cost me? What does it give me? And if the costs start outweighing the benefits, the pull toward that person weakens, not out of cruelty, out of basic neurological programming, which means the love you feel from the people around you, some of it, maybe most of it, is running on a very simple algorithm. You make their lives easier, therefore they want you in their lives. Not because of your soul, because of your function. Now hold that thought. Don't let yourself dismiss it yet, because the next part is worse. You were trained for this. You didn't choose convenience as a personality. Somewhere, usually in childhood, you learned that love was conditional. That when you caused problems, when you had needs, when you cried or pushed back or wanted something, the emotional temperature in the room dropped. Someone went cold. Someone got frustrated. Someone left physically or emotionally, and the message seared itself into the part of your brain responsible for survival. Don't be a problem. Be easy. Be whatever they need. And it worked. The tension would dissolve. The warmth would return. You learned that you could actually control how safe you felt by controlling how little space you took up. That is not a character flaw. That is a trauma response. A brilliant, adaptive, completely self-destructive trauma response. Because here's what nobody explains to you when you're a child, quietly shrinking yourself to keep the peace. They don't tell you that the skill you're developing, the ability to sense what someone needs and become it, is also teaching every single person in your life that you have no edges, no resistance, no point at which you will push back. You become functionally a surface, smooth and frictionless, endlessly accommodating. And surfaces are useful, but nobody falls in love with a surface. Here is the experiment you are terrified to run, and you know it. Some part of you has always known it. Say no, just once, to someone who has come to depend on your yes. Don't make it dramatic. Don't explain. Don't apologize 15 times. Just say, "I can't do that," and then watch. Not with cynicism, just with open eyes. What happens next will teach you more about who actually loves you than 15 years of being agreeable ever could. Because for the people in your life who see you as a person, the no will land fine. It might be a small disappointment. They might need a moment, but it won't break anything. They'll adjust. They'll still call. The relationship will absorb it because real connection can absorb friction. It's built for it. But for the others, something different happens. The energy shifts. Suddenly you sense an irritation that feels disproportionate to the situation, or you get the quiet withdrawal, the subtle coldness, the way they stop reaching out as much. Or worse, you get the wounded routine, the guilt wrapped in hurt feelings designed to make you feel like your no was an act of violence. They aren't angry that you couldn't help. They're angry that you revealed yourself as a person with limits. Because people with limits are inconvenient, and you weren't supposed to be inconvenient. That was the deal. That was always the deal. You just didn't know you'd agreed to it. There's a particular kind of loneliness that people pleasers carry and almost never talk about. It's the loneliness of being surrounded by people who need you and realizing that need is not the same as knowing you. These people call you constantly. They rely on you completely. And yet if you sat down and tried to think about the last time someone asked how you were and then actually waited for the real answer, you might come up empty. Because the relationship was built on your ability to hold space for them. Your own interior world was never really part of the arrangement. You are lonely in a crowd of people who love the version of you that never asks for anything. That version isn't you. That version is a service you provide. And services get replaced when something more convenient comes along. The philosophy here goes deeper than psychology, though. There is an existential wound at the center of all of this. When you build your identity around your usefulness to others, you stop developing a self, not metaphorically, literally. The self is formed through friction, through wanting things, through conflict and resolution, through learning what you value by defending it. People pleasers skip all of that. They smooth every edge before it can teach them something. They never find out who they are because they're too busy being whoever the room needs. The philosopher Heidegger talked about das Man, the anonymous they, the social force that tells you how to exist without you ever consciously choosing. Most people live their entire lives inside that fog, never asking, what do I actually want? Only asking, what is expected of me? People pleasers are the ultimate expression of das Man, completely dissolved into the expectations of others, present everywhere, themselves nowhere. So what's the way out? That's the part people want. The clean solution, the 5 steps. There isn't one, not a clean one. The way out is uncomfortable in a specific direction. It requires you to do the thing you have spent your entire life training yourself not to do. Take up space. Have a preference. Disagree. Disappoint someone without immediately trying to fix it. Let the silence after your no exist without filling it. Let people be mildly inconvenienced by your humanity. Some of them will leave. That part is real. When you stop being frictionless, when you stop performing effortlessness, some people will quietly recalibrate how much they need you in their lives. And that will hurt in a way that temporarily confirms every fear you ever had about what you're worth without your usefulness. But underneath that loss, something else begins. Slowly, with difficulty, you start to find out who actually stays. Not the ones who needed a service, the ones who wanted a person. And for the first time, when someone tells you they love you, you'll have a reason to believe them, because this time they've seen your edges, and they stayed anyway.